actually right on time. So our lovely Susan is not on yet. She'll be joining in a few minutes. She had to go drop her car off for some new brakes, and she thought she could just drop the key and then walk home. But no, no, no. She has to wait for them to open the door. So we're trying to manifest that they're going to open the door really soon. She'll be on in a couple minutes. So happy Monday. We are into another week. I can't believe we are already into May. It's May 3rd. So happy May, everybody. I think it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful month with lots of flowers. So how was everybody's weekend? I had the pleasure of officiating a wedding yesterday. It was a couple. It's their second wedding. Good morning, Cynthia. Good morning, Lynn. It was a couple. They're in their 70s. She was 70. She's 77 and he's 71. And they had met in a seniors residence where they previously were living, and they hated it. They met, they fell in love, they moved out, they busted out and moved into an apartment just a few streets over. So I was able to walk there yesterday. And just it's like such beautiful light and love with these two. The apartment is it's bright, it's fun, a lot of bling, a lot of white, like so modern, and the two of them are just oozing like vitality. So that was a great way to spend part of my weekend and to start the month of May off. So starting on the foot of love. So it feels weird to be sitting here talking to myself, but I'm talking to you guys, okay, Cynthia and Lynn, that's true, and anybody else that might be listening in. So what else came up for me? Something I really wanted to talk about was I had a fabulous reading, a clairvoyant reading with Susan Greenspan is her name. A lovely, lovely soul who I've known for probably close to maybe 10 years. And she's been on quite a journey and path of her own, like so many of us. And of course, the best joy comes out of great sorrow. So it's a whole, you got to ride the wave of life. And anyway, she gave me a reading on last Thursday, and she does. It's an all-encompassing clairvoyant read. So she reads your physical body, and she nailed my pain in my hip, and then she reads your like auric body, so all of your energies. She could see all the colors coming in. She then gets into your lifeline, and talks to you about parts of where you've been in life, and then she sees like great things coming in the future. And any true like psychic or clairvoyant won't ever predict the future for you because that would just be wrong. But they could certainly see that there could be great things as part of your life as it unfolds, that kind of thing. So, but then I my brother came through. I had a good chat with him. My mom and dad came through. So it was just a nice way to connect with those that have crossed over and to know that they're well, and they always they send love and support and strength. So that was really nice. But what also was really interesting is with regard to relationships, and that was something I thought we could talk about today. So with regard to relationships, at first when she was looking at my energy, she says, "Oh, I don't see you in a relationship." And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, that's odd because I've been married for 33 freaking years. But I waited, and so she went on with other things, and then she came back and she said, "No," she said, "there's something with this relationship." She said, I see you," and she said, "Are you married? Are you still married?" Because she knew I had been 10 years ago. I said, "Yeah, we're still married, 33 years." So she was okay, yeah. She said, "I see the two of you, and you're each in your own bubbles." And she said, "But it's beautiful. Like your bubbles, will come and kind of play with each other, but you're in your own bubbles." Hey, there's Susan. She's connecting. Hey, hey, good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
Hey, that wasn't too bad. 8:04, pretty good.
Oh, that's not bad, eh?
Not
Let
bad.
me just put my camera on.
Okay, yeah, we want to see your lovely face. There she is. Good morning.
Hello.
Well, it looks like you're like out at the airport. Can Good morning, Susan Greenspan, too. She just popped in. Oh, you froze on me, Sue. Oh,
Oh,
there you are.
sorry. Yeah, no, it's the Volvo dealership is at the end of the carry right by the highway. So in
Wow.
VMR.
Yeah, okay. Wow. So that's a
Yeah,
4K walk back home now?
I think so.
Yeah.
But it is chilly, so I'm gonna have to walk fast. How's it going this morning?
It's going good. I was just telling everybody that I did a wedding yesterday.
Hmm.
So my weekend was lovely, spending it in time with doing a wedding. And this couple, they were both in their 70s, second wedding.
No,
Yeah.
how sweet
And
is that?
yeah, really sweet. Yeah, she's 77, he's 71. And so much youth and vitality and love. And of course, because of COVID, it was really super small. We were just like five of us in their living room. And she had her son and grandkids on her phone. They were watching
Oh,
from Hawaii. So yeah, that was a great way to spend some time this weekend and to kick me off. It's my first wedding of 2021. I've got several more coming up, so we'll see how the year goes with COVID. A lot of people have had to reschedule, which is a shame. But
serious, right?
the ones that really just they want the ceremony, they want to give, like to show love to one another. Those are the ones that are getting married, and so those weddings are just like so incredibly special because it's not about the party, it's not
Oh,
about the ring. So yeah, so I was just telling everybody about that, and then that led me into talking about my fabulous clairvoyant reading that I had with Susan Greenspan last Thursday, which was an incredible reading. So I was just recapping how she read my physical self and my energetic self and my lifeline. But the really interesting thing, which I just started getting into, was about the bubbles. That she saw me and Dave in our separate bubbles. And she says, I see, some years back, there was some difficulties, a lot of banging around, but now she said, you're both so comfortable in your bubbles, and the bubbles will touch and kind of, play together, but you're both solidly comfortable in your own. And and I said, yeah, that's exactly what's been happening. It's been unfolding so beautifully. We're getting along better than we ever have. And a lot of part of that is just maturity, getting out of the ego, getting out of the sensitivity of youth. I know I was a super sensitive soul. So he'd say something and I'd get hurt and I'd shut down for a few days. And, I mean, this way just went back and forth for, years. But now we're playing in our bubbles. And it reminded me of, of a little story that I have to share. So back when I was 13, I came across a poem. I don't even know where. And I typed it out on an old typewriter because that's all there was back in 1973. We didn't have computers, right? I had an old electric typewriter in my closet. Anyway, I typed out this poem and I said, if I ever get married, because I never actually thought I wanted to get married. It was like, I don't think I do. I was kind of a woman libber, burn the bra. But I said, if I ever get married, I would want this to be read at my wedding because this represented what I wanted in a relationship. And I folded that poem and I carried it for years. And so when Dave and I decided in 1987 to get married, which was 14 years later, I dug out that little poem and it was all dog-eared and chewed up. And I had it read at my wedding. So that was in 1987. Now, flash forward to 2011 or 2012. I'm in a course and the instructor starts talking about a poem by the prophet Khalil Gibran, and she starts saying some of the verses, and I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly the poem that I had read at my wedding in 1987. And our wedding, we were only 13 people. We were super teeny tiny, but I had a friend of mine. It was just important that I had that reading done. So I have to just share something from this poem. So this is Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet, and it's he lived from 1883 to 1931. So that's how old this all these poems are. And what he says about marriage, I won't read the whole thing, but he talks about the parts that really jumped out at me even back then. It says, "Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance and be joyous, but let each of you be alone. And then give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. And even at age 13, like that just resonated with me. And I thought, that's what I want in a relationship. But I forgot parts of that. You know, the bigger, more obvious parts I had remembered, but the more subtle parts, which were things like, you know, if Dave would say something that I didn't like, I'd say, oh, don't say that. And he'd say, well, I could say whatever I want. And I think to myself, well, no, you can't, because then you're being disrespectful. But, you know, in hindsight, looking at that whole way that whole conversation would have played out, well, I'm being disrespectful to him for shutting him down. You know, so we all have our place and our time to share. And this is what in the last, you know, just the last couple of years, Dave and I are really learning how to be in our bubbles, being respectful, but allowing each other that freedom and that space, you know, to be. So yesterday, Sue, when you and I were talking a little bit, we started, like, this led into a good conversation too about negotiation with a partner or in relationships. I'm gonna let you weigh in on that.
Yeah, well, you know what? That is so poetic. Oh my God, the love hacker is so not poetic.
But we're the yin and the yang of love.
Oh, geez. I'm like, we could just sit in that little cushion forever. But in the end of the day, we have to be slapped into reality. It's so true, though. I mean, marriage is, I was saying, remember we were talking yesterday, and I always understood marriage or relationships. It's a dance, right? And
Yeah.
it's always been a dance. And from a very young age, I knew relationships, even if it was friendships or anything that involves being conscious with another individual, to coexist, it is a dance, and it is all about negotiation.
Yeah.
And ironically, I married a master negotiator.
That's right. That's right.
But
a lawyer.
but,
You can't get better than that.
yeah, no, he's really good at it, I have to say. The only thing he's not great at, because he negotiates for personal agenda, to self-serve, right? That's what lawyers do. They want to win, right? So I kind of didn't realize that, but I really learned how to negotiate. And as a woman who didn't have a voice growing up, I learned how to step up and negotiate. And sometimes it took a bullfight, but you can't get into the flow until you go into a bullfight and then go into complete the other way around, to understand that it is purely a negotiation. So after 19 years of being together, we've learned over the last few years just how to flow and accept. And that one person, you know, it's interesting, because I always say, in the love hacker non-poetic way, you know, our emotional strength is what dictates the overall consciousness of the world, right? So if my emotional strength is weak, for people to work with me, I pull everybody down. So I'm always conscious of the fact that I need to step up, you know, because it is the lowest common denominator pulls everybody down. That's why I've always hated political correctness, right?
Yeah.
So I changed the term as emotional consciousness, that we must,
like
right?
That better.
Because
Yes.
political correctness has the word politics all over
Politics.
it.
Yeah. Right away, it gets my back up too. It's like, well, what has that got to do with, trying to have a conversation with somebody?
Yeah. So usually, if we're emotionally weak, it means we need to learn how to be a little bit more brave and attract the people that's going to lead us forward, not pulling everybody down, because I see a lot of people doing that. And spiritual ego is one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, I was just about to write a piece today on high achievers, the demons of high achievers. And the worst thing that you can say to a high achiever is stop and just be and do nothing.
Yeah, totally. They're like, huh? I can't stop. I have to be
You
doing.
know, if that's the essence of how what your being is, you can't change the essence of who you are. As somebody who is not a high achiever, there's nothing wrong with not being a high achiever, right? There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with
exactly.
that. We need to coexist with non-high achievers just to learn how to be, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's like this reverse judgment on high achievers. It's like, oh, they're the unhappy people, you know? Where is if so anyway, that's my rant for the
Well,
morning.
that's a good
The
rant.
non-poetic emotional consciousness. No, emotional consciousness requires us to be aware, self-aware, of our behavior that has a ripple effect on everybody else in the world and how it affects. That's
Absolutely.
why.
Yes, that's awesome. Awesome. It's it's also termed as like an emotional intelligence of being aware of who's around you, what's around you, having that empathy, that compassion, that understanding that it's not just your way. And this is what, what I was saying, like with my relationship with Dave, is I felt that he had to do certain things for me or act certain ways for me. But I was doing it unconsciously, thinking that, oh, then we'll all play nice together, but forgetting that in that mix, well, he's got to say as well, it's a 50%. So why does it all have to be my way? And it took a long time to understand the subtleties of that, because that was like it was like really subtle. It wasn't overt. Um, but I finally get it now. It's like, oh, there it is. It's like everything, as we learn it, once we see it, it's like, oh, there it is. Didn't see it before.
You know what the hilarious thing? Crystal sent me the funniest post of the weekend. Hold on, let me just go and get it because you really can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I tell you, it's so funny. She sent me this post and she thought I'd enjoy this because this is so me. And it is, I think we conclude that the time out generation didn't produce as good as citizens as the ass beating generation.
Say it again. Oh,
Okay,
as
hold
the
on. I'll go.
okay.
I think we can conclude that the time out generation didn't produce as good as citizens as the ass beating generation.
Ah, yes. The ass beating generation. It's true. The timeout generation.
Oh my goodness,
Right.
literally, like, do we have to soften everything up to the point where we're not supposed to feel anything?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
Honestly, holy
Yeah.
moly.
Yeah. That will not produce good citizens of the world. No, not at all. You got to feel
So
it.
then, yeah, because our children, when we soften it up too much, the world doesn't have mercy on you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a good
what's
point.
happened? So we have to have a balance of being courageous enough to step up with your truth, and you don't have to soften everything up to the point where it's like because our subconscious feels that um, subduing of emotions.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's an enabling thing, right? So I'll
Yeah.
leave you to that.
Wow. That's good. Okay. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah, good point, Crystal. You should post that in our group. I don't see Crystal on yet this morning, but Cynthia, she made a couple of comments saying marriages working through each other's personalities. What's important is your commonalities and beliefs. And yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Very true. And it's true. It's important to work on the commonalities and beliefs and and the non-commonalities, like, really having that respect for the other person's opinion. And it always brings me back with Dave. It's always with any relationship. It's like, well, what do I like? Focusing on the things that work, focusing on the things that you like, because you're always going to hit. And I do say always because in a relationship and being married over any time, you're going to hit bumps and you're going to hit roadblocks and challenges. But you have to, instead of focusing on, oh, I hate when he does that and I can't stand when he does that, blah blah blah, is looking for those things that are common. And what really worked for me too with Dave is figuring out the love languages, because he is not a man of words. And that's what I was looking for, because I'm all about words of affirmation. So I'm looking for him to say to me, oh, good job, Sherry, or oh, I love you. You look good in that. No, I won't hear that ever. But what he'll do is he'll go out and he'll wash the car. He does the laundry. If I'm in the kitchen, we dance in the kitchen. Like seriously, he'll come in. I don't really dance because he's not a dancer. But I mean, we do the dance of cooking together. He'll come in and he cleans up behind me, and he'll start washing up the dishes. And while I'm doing the chopping, and because he's showing his love that way. And so we are very different. There's not a lot of commonalities, but when you start digging down, it's true, like with values or, um, those core beliefs. Yeah, they're, that's what holds it together. So people who give up too soon, it's such a shame. Yeah, I was just quickly
Yeah.
reading something about J Lo, Jennifer Lopez. There, her and J Rod. They broke up. It was in the People magazine, and friends of hers were saying that she was unhappy because I don't know, the spark was gone. Well, of course the fucking spark is gone. It's been 4 years. Like
Did you just say fucking?
I did, because
Love
it
that.
pisses me off when people are like they think that there's going to be sparks forever. Well, of course not. The honeymoon's over, baby. Like that is those
Well, if
endorphins don't last a lifetime.
if you want the sparks, I'll give you the website to go to. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know what? And this is the interesting thing, and I think I'm the only one that talks about this because I haven't seen anybody that talks about this. The law of attraction is really overrated when it comes to love and relationships. You know, because the like attract. But when we're looking for our soulmate and life partner that we have to coexist with for the rest of our life,
Yeah.
you don't want to be stuck with you all for the rest of
No,
your life,
you
right?
don't want the same.
No. So
Oh,
the law of attraction is not for love. It's the law of magnetism that you really have to start learning and
yeah.
understanding. You have to attract your opposite so
Yes.
that you continue growing. I mean, you don't have to grow if you don't want. A lot of people out there are just happy being with their best friend. It's not for me to say whether you're happy or not, but if you're not happy, then that's probably a big point. Because a lot of singles that I work with or that I know, they've forgotten how to share,
Oh, yeah,
especially successful women. They have
yeah,
forgotten how to share.
yeah. Yeah, that's a really, really good point too. The only way we can know ourselves is through the contrast. The contrast is the teacher of all. So you can't know your ups until you know your downs. And that's the thing with David. He's really taught me through the contrast. He's allowed me, or it has allowed my soul to really expand. And and I see the changes in him as well. So he helps to ground me, and I help to elevate him. So it is this wave of energy that passes between us.
You know what? And this is where Dave is also, and this is how I could see how you guys are so made for each other. He is very strong on his no. And because your no was not as strong back then, you attracted your opposite so that you can actually tap into some of his strength. But that's the most annoying thing was when somebody puts their hooves down. It's like, no. I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, "Ah!" Yes, his first word, he's like a little boy, like how kids always say no. They go wash your hands. No. Go eat your dinner. No. Go no. Well, he's just like that. He's like a little boy. And that's what I've been calling him lately too. He's my little boy of no. His first answer is always no. Do you want to go somewhere? No. Do you want to do this? No. Do you want to play cards? No. So I have certainly learned, and one of my greatest examples, which I'll share really fast, I've shared it quite a long time ago, but I'll share it really fast again, was there was this example of a friend, and I quote that in air quotes. She wanted me to travel to Toronto with her and to go up for a weekend thing. And I'd already gone up, and I can take the train for free because Dave, he's got passes. Anyway, so here she wants me to do it, and she wants me to go back to her house at the end of the weekend. We're only going to get home at midnight, and so then how do I get home the next day? And so we were figuring out, and I'm bending over backwards trying to accommodate this friend, and I'm even thinking, well, maybe my son Andrew can drive up because this would be in Ontario, 45 minutes away. Maybe he can come and get me the next morning, and like it's just a whole like mess, right? But I'm doing everything to accommodate because I'm not saying no. So I get off the phone, and David overheard parts of this conversation, and so he he sounds like he's angry, but he says like, "What are you doing? Why don't you just take the train? Just do it. You enjoyed it last time. You had fun last time. Just do what you like." And I'm like, "No, see, that's why I never talk to you, and I never tell you because you get mad, and I'm not talking to you." And I storm off, and I go outside and I sit where I usually do with my celestial friends up in the stars in the sky. And I'm like, okay, why did I just get so mad? Like he pushed a button. And so that's the point I had gotten to at this point in my relationship, was understanding that button pushing. That when I would feel that emotion, I knew a button was pushing. It's like, hey, what's behind that button? I've got to figure this out. And it took me quite a while. I think I was out there for a few hours. And I finally got it. It was because of my own inability to say no. And I admired him for his ability to say no. He has no problem saying no. I had a huge problem saying no. And so that led me to understanding I'm a big people pleaser. And that's not a good thing. It's sure it's nice to be nice, but at what cost? So I went back and I said to him, I thanked him. And he's looking at me like, what? He's figuring like the other shoe's going to fall or something. Like, what do you mean you're thanking me? And I said, no, I figured it out. I want to thank you for showing me how I need to stand up, like, and say no. When it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
That is the thing. I don't think we realize in the world of personal development where we're pushed to learn, but nobody's taught how to learn. And one of the things is, it's funny since you mentioned relationships, because you're right. I mean, that's exactly what happened to me too in my marriage. And I don't have 30 years, but thank goodness now I think I have a chance to reach there. Because for the first few years, I swear to God. But I remember, I remember all I've ever wanted was to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever one of the biggest turning points and breakthroughs for me in a relationship was, geez, I lost my train of thought because I'm trying to figure out, am I going in the right directions? Because I'm supposed to be going south, and I thought I was going north.
Oh.
It's happened before. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's happened before. So
that's Sue's own GPS. You have your own GPS there.
Yeah, because for a moment there, it's like, where am I walking? I don't even remember. I didn't even remember I was walking home. Yeah. So I remember I want my core belief, my core value in a relationship is open communication. Like I want a man that will tell me everything, right? But then I realized that when he told me things that was his truth, I would get mad.
Right. You didn't want to really hear it.
Yeah, or I would get mad, or I would get mad at him. I would judge him. So there's nothing worse than when somebody opens up to you and then you're reacting to them in a negative way that shuts them down like every other human being. So I remember he said to me once, many, many years ago, towards the beginning, he goes, Susan, you want somebody who's open. And then when I do open up, you rip me apart. So he's like, do you see what you're doing? And I'm like, oh, geez, like, this is why we attract our opposites. We have to be called out.
Yes, we do.
But you know what? In this world of political correctness that creates this cushion of weakness and emotions and not being able to deal with anything, we can't even be called out. So what are we learning really in the end of the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing. Big fat nothing. And you're right, being called out and to judge. And that's so common in relationships, that the partner says, oh, I'm feeling really unhappy. And, and then then you jump in, well, what do you mean you're unhappy? Blah, 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 la, 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 la. I do all this for you and you're unhappy. Well, it's not about that. It's about sitting and listening to, what's really going on with the other person and validating you. You may not like it, but validate it and be there for them.
You know what? Here's the reality. People might not.
There you are.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the truth. If we do that in our marriages or relationships, like love relationships, we're doing that across the board to our friends.
Exactly.
And this is why a lot of people who just want to be heard will never open up, because the moment they open up, you have everybody pouncing on you, trying to give their 2 cents on what you should do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to express without somebody telling you what to do.
Absolutely. Drives me nuts. Do not go into solution mode. I didn't ask for a solution. I just need a sounding board. let me just like, like do a verbal dump on you and then just, brush me off and send me back on my way. I don't need a solution unless I'm asking for a solution. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my pet peeves.
Oh,
Yeah, drives me
oh,
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
why people don't want to hang around with coaches.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a coach. You're a coach.
Yeah. Well, we've had to learn the hard way. It's like, why is nobody our friend? But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. My pool of friends is getting smaller.
I only hang around with people that want to be called out because I want to be called out. If I'm saying something that's full of shit, tell me. I don't
Yeah.
like it. I want to see what I cannot see. And if I value what everybody sees, even if you're emotionally strong or weak, it doesn't matter. What you see is what you see. It cannot be judged.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly. Because what is judgment? It's just a personal, yeah, it's based on your filters. Everybody's judgment is going to be different because what's right for you could be wrong for me. It depends on culture, depends on religion, depends on beliefs, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, yeah, it's the judgment that gets us into trouble. That's for damn sure. Well, I can't believe we're already at 8:30. Like, holy crap, that went fast.
As
Uh,
we rant,
yeah, we
ranting
ran.
goes fast.
I like how you're walking and ranting. This really works for me. Rick Mercer, he was a Canadian show. We watched him for quite a few years. Rick Mercer, and he always had his little 2-minute rant. He'd walk down the alleyways in Toronto. Do you ever see that show, Sue? No, no. Okay. Anyway, it's a funny little half hour. He brings in some news, but a lot of comedy. He's a good Canadian figure. Anyway, so we're gonna have to start maybe doing this as the Sue's walk of rant.
Oh no, I was doing that a couple of years ago. I had to stop because my social media was like completely silenced, and then I would get like private notes like, "Oh, geez, I can't believe I'm so happy you said all those things. I needed to hear that, but because but nobody's posting because it's like, oh my goodness, the truth is
Yeah,
what so many people don't want to see, and that's the problem in society."
because they're afraid they're going to be judged. And there's the camps of people who have a big voice and they'll shut you down if you're being too vocal. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
or it just means they're gonna have to do the fucking work,
yeah. Well, there's that.
the real work. Self-love work is probably the hardest bits to ever learn how to do because it's really tough. But yeah, we can rant. I don't mind.
Cynthia says, yeah, the truth will set you free. Yep. Yeah. And Suzanne, back to our other point in relationships, including friendships, is catch them being good. I love that. That's a great phrase. So yeah, my post that I posted last night was was about just do you and let your partner do them. You know what I mean? We have to really just embrace separateness because we are the oak tree and the cypress. We're different. It's like the little rose bush trying to say to the oak tree, well, be more like me, be softer and be colorful. And the oak tree is like, well, I'm tall and strong. And no, I'm not going to lower myself to your like fluffy little, nature doesn't do that to each other. They have a high respect for each other. So why as human beings can we not, live more like that?
Really, Kevin? I learned something yesterday. Kevin said trees because nature is very competitive. So if you plant a tulip or something beside a big tree, that sucks up the life of that tulip. So it is very competitive. We have to accept nature is competitive. So is human beings, but learning how to be conscious with the competition is where is the hardest work, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They are competitive, but meaning that the oak tree will not expect the tulip to be an oak tree. It allows it, but yeah, it'll suck up the water and probably kill it.
But you know what? I admire that because they're standing in their personal truth as we should,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
all a matter of respect. But yeah.
Good.
Anyways,
Good note to end on. Touche. Well, it's already 8:34. Thanks for joining us on your walk home, Sue. You're going to be home soon. You're close by.
I have about another 20 minutes.
Okay,
I walk
good.
fast.
Yeah, you do. Well, good chat. We'll see you back on Wednesday. Have a great Monday, everybody. Go and practice some emotional consciousness in your relationships. Be real. Bye, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.